Well, hello everyone. It's Gina from Gina K Designs, and today I'm going to show you our fuse foiling system and how it works to make your cards sparkle and shine. Inside the box, you're going to find the beautiful new fuse foiling system in our white design with our turquoise highlights. You're also going to have an owner's manual, and inside this owner's manual, it's really important that you don't throw anything away because you're going to need everything inside. So inside, you're going to have this clear plastic sheet. This is your carrier sheet, and this is going to carry all of your polyglaze, toner sheets, and foil through the fuse machine. You're also going to have two tester sheets of toner sheets. We have balloons and butterflies. You're going to get a small pack of gold foil, and then again, your owner's manual that you can always refer to get any information on how to use this machine. When you've taken your machine out of the box, on the back there's an on switch and there is a jam release. So if you ever get a paper jam or your carrier sheet jams, when you start to see it go through jamming, just make sure you push this over to the side and that will release the cardstock and you'll be able to easily pull out the cardstock or that carrier sheet. Now to get it started, you want to turn this switch to on, and then we've got 6 different settings that you can use depending on the materials that you're going to be putting through the machine. If you're doing any kind of cold laminating, you can use setting 0. If you want to use something like vellum or text weight paper, you can either use setting 1 or 2. And you get to those settings by pushing the button up to the desired number. So that's for lighter weight material. If you're going to be using toner sheets or polyglaze, you want to go up to number 3. Anything thicker than that, like a thick weight cover stock or even a lightweight chipboard, you're going to go with 4 or 5. Now this machine has what's called an instant warm-up, so it's going to be hot and ready to go within about 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to first show you how to do some basic foiling. We're going to be using our polyglaze sheets today, and what they are pre-printed card designs that are printed in a light gray ink, and then they are coated with a clear polyglaze material. Now that clear polyglaze is going to grab the foil when it gets heated as it's put through the fuse machine, and it actually will fuse the foil onto the polyglaze and it will create a beautiful design. So I'm going to start by taking one of these sheets of polyglaze, and I'm going to be using some of the Gina K Designs fancy foils in radiant red. So this is a sparkle foil. We've got lots of different types of foils. We have different glitter and sparkle foils. We have plain foils like our 14 karat. And then there's a whole plethora of colors in our line. When it comes to this type of laminating foiling, you want to make sure that you use the correct type of foil. You don't want to use hot foil. The kind of foil that you use for hot foil plates and other types of equipment will not work in this machine. You want to use something like our fancy foils. You want to use ThermoWeb Deco foil in the clear plastic tubes and other brands that have toner foiling products. So I'm going to start by taking a pre-cut piece here. I already cut these down to size, of this radiant red. And the first thing I want to do here is I want to dust the surface of this. And the reason why I'm going to dust this and I'm going to dust the foil is because I want to make sure that there is nothing that's going to come between the foil and the polyglaze sheet. If there's any dust on this or on this, anywhere that they meet, the foil will not be able to transfer. So I like to use something like a Swiffer duster. But if you don't have a Swiffer duster, you can use any kind of anti-static cloth. So I'm going to start by dusting off the polyglaze, and then I want to dust the back side of the foil. So once I've removed all of the dust, then I can place this foil on top of the polyglaze. We're going to place this inside the carrier sheet. Now remember, you always want to have the pretty side of the foil facing you and the back of the foil facing the polyglaze. If you have it this way, it's not going to stick. That might sound a little counterintuitive because you would think that you would need it the other way, but there's actually a clear coating on here that we're going to peel off. Now I'm going to open up the carrier sheet and I'm going to slip this in to the carrier sheet, and then I'm going to feed this through the machine. Now it's important that you only feed it through using the folded side. If you feed it through with the open side, there's a good chance that those flaps are going to get caught up in the rollers of the machine. So make sure you always have your folded side going in first, and then you're going to hold it with two hands and make sure you guide it in straight. Putting it in on an angle will surely crimple it up and possibly jam it. So by making sure it goes in straight and easy, and once the rollers grab it, you can let go. Now, once this has come out of the fuse machine, just give it a second or two to cool off. It will feel a little bit hot, not too hot to touch, but it will feel warm. Once it's cooled down, then you can peel and reveal the beautiful design underneath. Look at all of that gorgeous sparkle and shine. Now you have this piece here that's the leftover. We call this the negative piece. And we don't want to waste this because this is a beautiful design. So I'm going to show you how you can use this to create a second panel, and then every single piece of foil and every piece of poly glaze will get you 2 cards instead of 1. I'm going to be using something called white poly glaze sheets. These are just white 80-pound cardstock that are coated with that same clear poly glaze material that our designs are printed with. And what we're going to do for this is we're going to take this piece of foil and we're going to lay it on top. And then we're going to flip it over so that we can see where we want to trim this down to. Now you can see I'm not all the way to the edge here because we don't want this piece going off the edge. We want to make sure that all of this white poly glaze is contained inside this piece of foil. So I'm going to just make a cut line here, and then I'm going to trim this down. Now you could cut this with a paper cutter if you want to make sure that it's super straight. However, I tend to cut these afterwards using dies, so it's okay to just cut it with scissors. Now there is a right side and a wrong side. Can you see that little bit of sheen there? So that sheen, that is the poly glaze side. If I do that with the other side, you don't get that same shine. So we're going to do the same thing that we did with the decorative poly glaze. We're going to take this and we are going to use our Swiffer duster cloth to get rid of any dust, and then we're going to do the same thing here on this negative piece of foil. And now we're going to lay this right on top. Now we're going to feed this into our carrier sheet the same way we did the first time, making sure that none of that white poly glaze exceeds past the foil. And then once again, we're going to send this through the machine, and we're going to allow the fuse foiling system to fuse that foil onto the white poly glaze sheet. So now that this has come out of the fuse, we're going to give it just a second to cool off, and then we're going to be able to peel and reveal the beautiful design. And you can see we've used every bit of that foil, and we've created a second gorgeous panel here. Look at all of that beautiful sparkle and shine. Now you can take both of these designs and you can make one card from this one and one card from that one, or you can do something fun like I did here in my sample. I used the Gina K Designs Master Layouts 9 die set along with Master Layouts 2 to cut a window. And then I used that same Master Layouts 9 die set to cut on this panel and on this panel. And I paper pieced 2 white ones here and 2 red ones here. So you can see how you can mix and match those together to create a really cool look. For my greeting, I used our Be My Valentine Foil Mates toner sheets. I foiled that with Radiant Red as well, and I cut it out with our double-stitched circles. You can mix and match poly glaze with other tools in your toolbox. So now I'm going to show you how you can use our cute little Flurries poly glaze sheets with a stencil to create a beautiful holiday card. This is one of those poly glaze sheets that I think is great for just about any time of the year. Even though it's called Flurries, It's just got little circles and stars that give a little light texture for any card design. So I'm going to start with the polyglaze sheet, and then I'm going to use some of the Gina K Designs fancy foil in 14 karat. I'm going to take a piece of this, and I'm going to cut it so that it's just a hair bigger than my sheet of polyglaze here. But remember, you can also go a little bit smaller as long as you're completely covering the design. All right, so we're going to cut this out, and we're going to save this for other things like greetings and other little die cut pieces, so none of them will go to waste. So now I'm going to take that Swiffer duster again. I'm going to dust the back of this foil, and then I'm going to dust the front of this polyglaze sheet. I'm going to lay those two pieces together, and once again, I'm going to place that into the carrier sheet, and always using that top fold as my guide, I'm going to send that through the opening of the fuse. Once again, we're going to peel and reveal this adorable design. Look how pretty that is. That can be used for so many different kinds of cards. Now, I'm going to use this great sticky mat by Scrapbook.com, and I'm going to place my piece of cardstock onto the mat. And then I'm going to use this stencil. This is the Gina K Designs Stellar Snowflake stencil, and you can see how pretty that design is. I'm going to lay that right on top here, going right to the edge. Now, this stencil by itself is fantastic, but when you mix it with that little bit of sparkling foil behind there, you're going to get such a beautiful, sparkly, shiny look for the holidays. So I'm going to use two different ink colors. I'm going to be using the Gina K Designs Innocent Pink and the Dusty Rose. So I'll start with Innocent Pink, and I'm going to be using a Gina K Designs regular blending brush. I'm going to start in the center of this stencil with a little bit of a heavier hand, and then as I work my way out, I'm going to get lighter and lighter as I go toward the edges of this snowflake design. You can always go back and add a little more. There we go. Now to brighten up the center, I'm going to go with that second pink, the Dusty Rose, and I'm going to add a little bit more of that color right into the center. You can see how this really deepens up the color in the center. Now I'm going to peel and reveal what's underneath there. Look how pretty that looks. Can you see all that sparkle in there? That just makes a huge difference. It just takes it up a notch. The stencil itself is gorgeous, but when you add that sparkle and shine under there, it really becomes magical. So let me show you a finished card I made using that same panel. I cut this out with master layouts too, and you can see that gives you that nice little stitched edge around the outside. And then I added the Wishful Florals greeting set. This is a polyglaze design too, and it coordinates with our Wishful Florals stamp and die and coloring stencil collection. So I added that greeting in there, and I foiled that with 14 karat too, and you really can see that sparkle and shine. What a quick card, quick and easy for mass production. Adding inking techniques to your polyglaze designs is a super fun way to create a bright, vibrant card. So I'm going to make a birthday card with you today using our newer layered candles polyglaze sheets. This is one of our latest designs, and this one is so fun. So I'm going to take this out of the package. And these are actually a lot bigger than what you see on the front. You can see this is a whole card front with these beautiful layered candles. And what's really fun about this is this layered candle polyglaze set has a stencil set that coordinates with it. These are the layered candles layering stencils, and we're going to use that today. So we're going to start like we have with all of our polyglaze so far. We're going to get a piece of gold foil. We're going to trim it down to fit over those candles. Now for a design like this, you could really just fit it right over the candle area. So let's do that. We'll cut it down just a little bit smaller. This just has to cover the candles. So you can see, even though there's white cardstock sticking out around the perimeter, that's not going to affect the poly glaze design. And that just saves foil. All right, so once again, I'm going to start by taking my Swiffer duster and dusting over the front of the candles and then dusting the back of the foil. And I'm going to lay that on top, and I am going to use my carrier sheet and send this through the fuse. Now that this is run through the machine, I'm going to peel and reveal this beautiful candle design. Look at all of that shine. That's fun just like it is. And if you are a Copic marker user, Olo markers, you like colored pencils or watercolor, you can color those in as well. But if you love using layering and coloring stencils, you're going to love the next part of this card. So I've used the Master Layouts 2 die set to trim out this panel. And you can see the Master Layouts 2 die set always creates that cute little stitched edge around the perimeter. Just gives it that something special, that little extra. And you can see how beautiful that is in gold. So shiny, so pretty. So I've chosen a bright, fun color palette for my card today. I'm using some turquoise sea and sea glass, some lucky clover and wild dandelion, and then I have some sweet mango. Now I'm going to start with layer 1 of our layering stencils. So each of our layering stencils, if you look down here at the bottom, you can see that they are labeled Gina K Designs, and it has layered candles 1, layered candles 2, and then it has Gina K Designs over here. So you always know who the manufacturer is if you're looking for a certain one, and then you always know the layers here at the bottom. Okay, and what I'm going to start with is layer 1, and I am going to lay this on top of these candles. So I'm going to place those. Like that. Now, I would like to alternate colors here. And the easiest way to do that is to use something like our Masking Magic strips. If you haven't tried our Masking Magic strips, I highly recommend you do. You can create beautiful borders and striped patterns and crisscross designs. But I'm going to use these to mask off different areas of these candles. So I'm going to be using the 1/2 inch size, although I am going to just look here because the 1/4 inch size might work as well. I think they might be a little thin. So we'll go with the 1/2 inch size, and we're going to just place that right there to block off everything on this side. And we're going to start with some sea glass ink. So I'm going to do this one with sea glass. Let's find a small brush. I'm going to use a small blending brush here with some sea glass ink. And I'm going to fill this in with sea glass. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm alternating. Every other one, I'm going to do sea glass with turquoise sea. And then the other ones, I'm going to do sea glass with lucky clover. And I just keep using these same strips. So now that we have all of those filled in, and we can continue to use these Masking Magic strips, but let's add a little bit of color to the tops of our candles. So we're going to pop that into place. And we're going to add some wild dandelion to the candles. And I'm using the Gina K Designs small blending brushes for this layer, just like I did on the last one. And then we're going to use our detail brushes to add some of the smaller details. You can see how pretty that looks with that shine. We still have that shine in there. It's not hurting it at all by adding ink to it. And now we're going to add layer 2. So I'm going to line up layer 2, And we're going to start with our darker turquoise color, which is turquoise C. Why don't we go through the whole thing and just make the whole thing turquoise C? Because turquoise C is going to look beautiful on all of these. So I'm using a detail brush here, and I'm adding that darker color right in the center of that gold poly glaze, the little details in there. Anytime you have to get into tight places, small little designs on stencils, these detail brushes just sink right down in there, and they do such a great job. So now I'm going to peel this stencil off, and you can see how cute those little details in that darker turquoise make such a difference. And what's fun is the darker turquoise just turned this lucky clover into a darker green. And now we're going to add the tops of the candles on with layer 2. We're going to do that with sweet mango. I will use that same yellow brush, a little bit of orange on there. We'll kind of come up from the bottom just to make that look like a flame. And now we'll peel that off, and you can see those cute little candles are all polyglazed and colored in with those layering stencils. Another fun polyglazed design is our thoughtful flowers, and there's a great couple of greetings in there that say, thinking of you on your birthday. So I foiled those with the gold foil, cut them out with the coordinating dies, and now I'm going to assemble this card. So once again, I used Master Layouts 2 to cut out the plain rectangle. I cut this one out with the stitched rectangle, and you can see how this creates a cute little layout and a cute little border going around the perimeter of that card. That nice black border really makes this whole design pop. And I am going to adhere this panel onto the black panel. And then this whole panel is going to go on a turquoise C card base. So you can get an idea of how the Master Layouts 2 creates a nice wide border around the perimeter, so you get to see your cardstock color as well. And it just frames it out so nicely. Then we'll put a little bit of that tape runner here on this thank you, or thinking of you rather. And then we'll do the same for the on your birthday, and we'll pop that in underneath. And that is just a quick little card, tons of sparkle and shine. Aside from layering stencils and polyglaze, we've stepped it up a little bit more with some of our floral collections. You can get stamps, coordinating dies, coordinating coloring stencils, and the beautiful polyglaze to create gorgeous floral cards. The same way that I did our layered candles, I did this little floral design where I've used our polyglaze sheets. This is the thoughtful flowers. And you can see I created this little floral swag here. And this is going to make a beautiful card. I used coloring stencils with it, same way I did with the layered stencils. But you also can get stamps, you can get the coordinating dies, and you can get the coordinating coloring stencils. So these are all available. We've got several collections like this, and I want to show you a few cards that I made using this collection. So here's one that I made with thinking of you on your birthday. Maybe your person isn't a candle person, but they'd rather have a birthday card like this. And you can see all of that beautiful sparkle and shine that you get from the polyglaze in those beautiful flowers. Lots of detail in there. Here's another card with a similar layout, but done in all beautiful pinks and spruces. So you can see that with the sparkle and shine, another birthday card. Then you can also create beautiful wreaths. So you can see how beautiful this one is with the individual designs from that same polyglaze set. And I just took the little flowers and leaves and created my own half wreath. Another fun way to use the fuse foiling system is with dies. All those beautiful standalone dies that you have in your collection can easily be turned into shiny foiled die cut pieces. And you can do that using toner card fronts. So these toner card fronts are cardstock that is printed with thick black commercial grade toner. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to take a piece of brilliant blue, and we are going to take a small piece of this toner paper, this toner card front, and I'm going to show you a gorgeous way that you can make a holiday card. And it's really super easy too, so you can mass produce these quickly. Now this is our ornamental trees die set. And I'm going to pull out one of the trees from this. So I'm going to just place that tree onto my toner paper, and I'm going to cut a piece of toner paper that is a little bit bigger than that tree. And then I'm going to cut a piece of foil that's just a little bit bigger than that toner paper. And I'm going to take the back of this foil with a Swiffer duster and make sure I remove all the dust. And I'm going to remove all the dust from the surface of this toner paper. I'm going to lay those two together, and then I'm going to put those into the carrier sheet, and I'm going to send that through the fuse. A lot of people ask me when they are doing die cut pieces, should they die cut first and then apply the foil? The best way to do it is to cut your piece of toner paper and foil that first. And the reason is because when you do cut with a die, you will bend the edges of your cardstock a little bit. You put little impressions where the little pinholes are for you to pop the die cut piece out of the die. And anywhere that those things occur on the toner paper, the foil will not be able to adhere properly. So you want to make sure that you do your little piece of foiled paper first and then die cut after. So we're going to peel and reveal this beautiful piece of metallic paper. The foil itself is really too thin to die cut, but once you've turned it into metallic cardstock like this, you'll be able to get a beautiful die cut out of this. Now I'm going to bring my Intracut die cutting machine in, and we're going to cut this piece of foiled paper using the Intracut. If you've never seen the Intracut before, I think you're really going to like it. One of the things I love about it is once you open this up and you push the plates in, it just makes it solid to the table and makes it very easy to die cut. Now I'm going to put in the cutting mat, and then I'm going to lay my piece of foiled paper onto the cutting mat. And then I'm going to take that tree, I'm going to lay that on top, and I am going to send this through the machine. Now there is a dial on the side here that allows you to adjust the pressure. So for a more intricate design, you can dial it just a little bit tighter. If you have a little bit of a thicker die, you can dial it a little bit looser. You do want to make sure that your top dial is on die cut. Because this is an intricate design, I am going to allow that to stay on that more intricate level, but you don't have to go too tight. Now we're going to pull this die cut off, and then I'm going to use my pick and stick tool to poke the little holes out here, and it'll make it easy for this tree to release. You can see how pretty that looks. All sparkly and shiny. I want to show you this cute little holiday card I made using these glittery trees. For this collection here, I used the ThermoWeb Color Harmonies foil in their green collection. And I cut 3 different trees out of 3 different greens. And then for my background panel, I used our sterling foil with the winter snow poly glaze. And then I used one of the Gina K Designs sentiment sheets. We have a holiday sentiment sheet that can be foiled, or you can just use it in black the way I did here. I just staggered those trees, and then I cut this panel out with Master Layouts 2, and I cut this panel out with the same Master Layouts 2 die set. You can see here, I cut the background out of these 2 and that other panel out of these 2. And you can see how that full Master Layout set comes together with those foiled ornamental trees. I hope you enjoyed all of today's techniques, and no matter which one you choose, with a little bit of foil and the Fuse foiling system, you can make your card projects sparkle and shine.